Okay, well, welcome back to the Corrective Culture Potty. Today we have a very, very special podcast. Mike Stewart from all the way from Hawaii. Thank you for coming onto our podcast today and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on here. This is quite a pleasure for me.
Yeah. Thanks, man. It's really cool because where I first heard about you from Jake was when he hurt his back. He goes, yeah, my mate Mike Stewart goes, have you heard of Paul Chek or something like that? Eh?
Yeah.
And you were like, nah, and you looked into him. It was a guy in the States, and then looked into his work, and then Jake found just a local Czech practitioner in Australia who's Donald Carr, who changed his entire life. Obviously, he was meant to get his spine fused, but not only changed his life, changed my life. It's like, you know, it's truth,
Cascading
right?
effect.
Yeah, like anything. And the truth transcends time and truth spreads. And it got into me and my friend circle, and now it's a wave, like corrective culture in itself is a wave through Australia, and it's hitting back over the States a little bit. I think 20% of our following's in the States now.
Yeah.
And
I think like I heard you talk in Chile a long time ago. It was my first trip to Chile, and you said we were doing something with these kids at a school, and you were saying like, if you want to feel more joy and more peace and more love and everything in your life, like eat organic. And that's what really caught me, because I was like, for the first time I was like, I do want to feel all those things, you know?
I think everybody does, you know?
Yeah.
Whether they recognize it and acknowledge it or not.
Yeah. And I think like you're so spot on, man. Like just shifting from non-organic food to organic food brings so much more. You know, your vessel gets more vibrant. You get to experience happiness on a new level.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. And it's a cascading effect, right? Like if you embark on that journey to try to get better, you know, food intake and better food and health and you know, then you're looking at other things. Okay, well, what else kind of moves the needle here? Oh, fitness. Oh, you know, suppleness, stretching.
Yeah.
You know, lifestyle. So all these things kind of correlate to each other, and they're really interrelated. And so you start embarking on one path, and it kind of opens up the door for everything.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about the food was that it was, because I thought I was doing good, you know, early on in my career. I thought I was eating okay, and I was, you know, I thought everything was okay, but I found out I was doing everything wrong, everything wrong. Yeah. And then it was transformative when I found out more truth about what to do right. And like, especially the food aspect of it, you know, you're touching on organic food, but just eating good food, like not only changes your energy level, but your mood. Like I had no idea it would be it would affect my mood so much, because I'd be kind of grumpy and like grouchy and like not really in a stoked state all the time, because I'm, you know, mentally putting a lot of pressure on getting to certain objectives or whatever it is. But when I was starting to eat good, then I noticed, you know, one of the things that I think you learn going through that metabolic typing thing is to really pay attention to how you feel, like monitoring yourself, self-monitoring. So 20 minutes in, how do you feel? You know, are you feeling uplifted? Do you feel actually in a good mood? Okay, you got a little bit of energy, but how's your mood? Are you happy? Are you feel stoked? And a lot of times I'd feel that. I'm like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah,
you know?
That's so cool.
yeah, it's what I've done and taught a few clients is like the days that you feel really good, just reflect on that, and the days that you don't feel really good, do the same thing. And a lot of the time for me, it's the food. But if I get 6 hours sleep compared to 8 hours sleep, it's different. You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, I think, you know, the things that are critical, right, to lifestyle. I mean, these are becoming more known now, but like Paul Chek has been kind of, you know, really trying to set this up as like a basic framework. But, you know, it starts with the breath, right? Learning how to breathe correctly, right? Diaphragm breathing, etc. I mean, each one of these could be your own podcast. I'm sure you've touched on it with other guests.
For sure.
But your breath, and then drinking good water.
Yeah.
Like making sure you're not drinking junk water, because your gut biome's affected and your hydration and your whole body system's being affected. So having good water, that's you know, ideally spring water, and if you can't get that, reverse osmosis. And if you do get water that's takes everything out, you know, mineralize it with like a good quality sea salt or good quality salt, and then from there you can look at diet, right? And then metabolic typing diet. It works for me. Everyone's got a little bit different, you know. You know, some people are vegetarian. That works best for them. Other people are more better with different types of, you know, proteins, etc. And the way I think maybe it was JP or Paul, they were telling me, you know, anything with eyes, you want to make sure that they're natural, like it's naturally occurring. And you know, you could get down into the nuances of spirituality when it comes to food, right? And I've always thought that we live kind of in a contrast and kind of a conflict, in that we really need to survive as organisms. We need to cultivate other living tissue.
Yeah.
So we're having to take the life of another being, whether it plant or animal, to sustain our own life.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty radical thing if you think about it. I'm like,
crazy.
fuck, why can't I just have like, water and sunlight and air? Like,
Yeah.
why do I got to eat things?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but
yeah.
but if you take a better perspective, of a more holistic perspective, and I wouldn't say worship that life, but definitely that life is sacred. So when you're eating something, you got to realize you're eating another being.
Yeah.
So you need to be, conscious of that and be appreciative of that.
I agree.
That's why I started to get into a little bit of farming. And so I was processing my own chickens and doing I said, if I'm going to eat this stuff, I got to be able to take the life of another creature. And that's a whole other funny story. But
Yeah.
I respect all life. And so I know a lot of people that are vegetarian because of that ethical issue. But I definitely respect all life, and I hate killing things.
Yeah.
But if it's something that I need to sustain,
to survive,
I'll take that, and I'll worship that life, and I'll respect that fully.
We had a hunter on named Adam Kavanagh. He's an Australian hunter. He's been on Naked and Afraid, a couple of seasons of that. But he's a real authentic, like goes out and with a bow, just lives off the land, And he goes, with all like the veganism and the vegetarianism, he goes, real quick. He goes, you go out there, and after a couple of days, real quick, you know what you got to eat. He goes, he goes, when you're in Northern Territory, it's only, I think he said plants only grow for like a couple months of the year that you can even eat. So you're literally dead if you're not doing it. And he's doing it with all the indigenous. But he's like, so quickly, he's like, boom, your brain just turns and all these ideas go out of your head, and you're just like, where's the fish? Where's the meat? Where's the fat?
Yeah, you
know? And he goes, a fish can keep me going for 2 days if I need it to. If I'm eating plants and whatever not, I need to just constantly be eating it all day long. And sometimes your palate, what do you say about there's some stuff they eat in Africa, and he goes, eventually you chew so much and the acidity starts to like degrade your lips and stuff.
Interesting.
So you need to actually get in. So he got a crocodile, and it lasted him like a week or something,
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Hey, I was going to touch on like what it was like for you growing up in Hawaii, particularly the North Shore. As a young adult, especially because like I think like the listeners, especially surfers, would love to hear what it was like because I know the wolf pack was very, there's a lot of fighting. There's like, even for me in my last couple of years there, I was like, man, it's an intense place.
Yeah. Well, Hawaii is kind of intense in general.
Yeah.
I grew up a blonde kid in Hawaii. And when the only way I could get around when I was super young was hitchhiking or bus. The bus was super inefficient. So I ended up hitchhiking most places. And so I was met head on with this.
Yeah.
And so, there is, some history there, right? Like as in many cultures, white guys come in and fuck shit up.
Yeah.
They screw up the culture. They take, pillage. I'm not saying in all cases, but in some cases, this is what happens. I mean, but it does go back in time too. Every culture is not innocent of this. Every culture has gone through this. Even when the Hawaiians came, I think they took over the Marquesans.
Okay.
So there was an initial population there, and they got taken over. Then the white guys came in and just like screwed stuff up.
Yeah.
And so there was some history there,
For
and
sure.
then I think also from and I don't know for sure, but there's definitely a prejudice. So I dealt with kind of that growing up, as a blonde kid, a minority in most cases outside of school. A lot of times in school, I was in a nice school, up until about 6th or 7th grade. And then I went to another school. But when I was in that, I was kind of isolated. So, when you're outside and you're dealing with general public, you're dealing with other scrappy kids. And in Hawaii, it's like, you're fighting a lot of the time. So I got in a lot of fights when I was younger. And, you finally get to the point where, you can take so much, but then, screw it. Let's just go already. Start going at it. Yeah. When I went to the North Shore, I came from the Big Island.
Yeah.
I had already been I was graduated out of public school in Kona called Konawaina.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of locals there. So, but I didn't, I got hit a couple times at school, just like going to school and some guy punches you in the stomach, some gnarly guy, you're like, sorry. You're, oh, sorry, man. Just keep walking, but by the time I got to the North Shore, I was like pretty, I was at my 18, I was kind of punchy, but I was smart enough to be super respectful. I always try to be as respectful as possible. And I think that got a long ways because that's really what people are looking for in the lineup there. Like you got to show ultimate respect and just, that's it, because you're new to there. And so, I never got in a fight on the North Shore, which is like miraculous because I got in people's faces, like with gnarly guys, and somehow I averted it. Like I didn't strike anyone. Nobody struck me, although we came incredibly close, like on a number of occasions, but never got to the point where we're like swinging at each other, which is pretty miraculous. Like I'm going to say right now, because it was a super intense time. I mean, I've been in the water countless times where guys are clearing the lineups.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like some scrawny little boogie board dude in the corner. I'm not even almost invisible. They're calling everybody in. I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
I remember one time, I could go through so many stories.
Yeah.
There's one time in particular, I was with, it was myself, Michael Ho, Dane Kealoha, and Johnny Boy Gomes, who at the time were like the thugs.
Yeah.
Johnny Boy was just tough upbringing, had a hard upbringing.
Yeah.
Was very short patience.
Yeah.
And he would lose his temper and guys would, and then he would go nuts.
Yeah.
And so I remember once we were out at Laniakea and they just came and started clearing the lineup, just paddling through, grabbing guys' boards, breaking their boards, stabbing their boards with their fins. Like,
wow.
It was nuts.
Oh my God.
And so Michael and I paddled in.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's in that. That was nuts. Okay. We're sitting looking at each other, waiting. And then as soon as they cleared it out, we both paddled out. And then we're like, we're in, right? So there's those two guys and us. So we had it to ourselves. But it was like, it was nuts. Like just to see the carnage, So very like short tempers, a lot of times these guys come from broken homes, they got they're coming with some gnarly baggage, it's like, not easy for a lot of these guys, so you got to kind of understand where they're coming from. It's not just like they're being pricks and they're like, like they're like everything's handed to them. It's like, no, man, they got life super, super tough. Yeah. So these guys are tough. And it always has been a respect scenario there. Like, even back from ancient times, like, if you got out of line, you basically get clubbed to death, or killed on the spot. Like, like you can't, there's certain things you cannot do, So that culture kind of goes way back. So you got to be super respectful. So that's my number one suggestion. Anyone kind of trying to integrate over there. It's, times have changed significantly since then, but yeah, back in the early days, it was super gnarly, constantly. Like whenever there's a good swell, you could expect like 3 or 4 fights every swell, like guys getting slapped or sent in or scraps in the water. It looks like, it's crazy, man.
Fuck.
I feel like the martial art community would have grown heaps there since Max Holloway became like it. Do you know Max Holloway?
Yeah. So pre-Max Holloway, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu started coming in, right? Mm-hmm. So those guys came over. You had guys like Sharuto that trained BJ Penn. Yeah. So you had that kind of, BJ was like a scrappy kid from the Big Island, cool guy that like was just naturally talented. Mm-hmm. I remember going to like a kickbox class with him just for like fitness with my partner at the time, and we were like, oh, that guy, bro, he's like a phenom. I'm like, oh, right on, He's a humble guy, hey, what's up, BJ? Like, yeah. And then sure enough, that guy became like the prodigy, next first black belt non-jiu-jitsu or non-Brazilian.
He got it in like 3 years or something.
Yeah, he's a freak. Yeah, and he's knows the technicality of striking. Like that guy's such a complete martial artist. Like
he dominated for years.
Yes, crazy good.
Hawaii's got some amazing fighters.
So that's where it started, and then it's just been in the culture forever.
Fuck yeah. It's like a warrior culture.
Yeah, there's the deep roots in that whole thing, and again, it gets back to respect, and then guys being not knowing how to control a situation. So instead of like having some sort of bad vibes, they scrap, they knock, get after it, and then it's set, it's done.
It's done, yeah.
So settle it now, get it, get after it. Guys throwing getting in gnarly scraps, and then it subsides. It's all good.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And you might be friends with the guy tomorrow or the next day. You
Yeah.
never know, but basically getting that respect up. Yeah.
For sure.
That's sort of like prison culture, hey?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it, in a
Yeah.
way, it kind of is a little bit, like it's kind of a little bit nuts like that, or it used to be. It's not that bad anymore. You still get it, but not as bad.
Man, like as a kid when I was 17 and I came over, like I can't explain unless you've been there and you've felt what Hawaii is like sleeping next to the beach at Pipe, like along that whole like miracle stretch.
Yeah.
And the sound of the waves that wake you up in the night and the
Raw energy. Yeah.
dude, it's like, it's just heavenly. But it's not only that, it's the crowd, it's the trade winds that, you're surfing at 10, 11 in the morning. Like it's intense. The whole thing about it's intense. Like
vibrant and dynamic. Like it's just constantly changing, constantly.
When you hear like, for me, it's obviously average surfer. When you hear when you hear those waves at night and it sounds big, do you get fear?
Oh yeah.
When you hear
especially in Hawaii, because maybe not Mike, because he
no,
grew up
it's
there.
it's like depends. Like there's different levels of. I mean, when it gets really big, it's just an ambient roar.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I don't hear waves, but then you listen and you're like, oh, it's like, and you're like,
right. So it's different.
Really big.
Yeah.
It's like 30 feet big. Like big. So different sizes will hit the beach, different tempos and frequencies, and like make different noises. And but yeah, like you say, Jake, it's like living on the water there. Like you got to get used to the sound of crashing waves, because like during the winter months, for sure, it's like you're definitely gonna hear it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you came over too, like you came over Wolfpack days, huh?
Yeah, I did.
See, that was to me like the height of the craziness, where guys from Kauai came over. And there's already heavy guys on Oahu, and so that was like almost like a tribal war. The guys from Kauai kind of like versus some of the guys, and those guys kind of took over because they're you got guys like Kai Borg and Kala were very technical guys that could actually fight.
Yeah,
really
that's the scary thing. Like you knew they could all fight, and that was I was like, I don't know any of
like
this
they
stuff.
were trained jiu-jitsu and stuff.
Yeah, they're all. Like
I remember I
black
saw
belts,
that video and someone like had full mounted someone.
That was
like,
Kala,
I was like, oh, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. They all kind of do. Like they all just train.
They train all the time, and they're very good at it.
Yeah.
But I will say this, like all those guys and anyone who ever's gone like that, like, you go through those periods in your life, but all those guys are like pretty cool guys deep down. They've kind of like, they've addressed their demons. They understand what their demons has done to them and to others. And I think now they're kind of like, they're somewhat regretful, I think, in certain situations, but have just like gotten much more control and understanding, because a lot of it's just like learning how to deal with those kinds of emotions and feelings and rather than just like going just physical, deal with this in a smart way. It's like, so I think, there's been
we
that
were
process.
Talking about like archetypes. It's the warrior archetype. Paul goes into archetypes, and then I reflect on that's warrior archetype in the shadow. And I was talking to my roommate the other day. He's a younger kid, and I have I have 2 plates and 8 screws in my jaw, right? And that was because I stood up for someone in a sort of a fight, but I stood up in a way that escalated it. You know what I mean? So this is me reflecting now as a wiser man. I was like, oh, okay, like nothing even could have happened. I went over there, basically initiated a fight, thinking I was morale. It was doing me a favor. You know what I mean? Like subconsciously, now I know that. I was like, I was trying to feel good being the hero, and I ended up with a broken jaw and metal in my face.
I lost my front teeth because of that. Same situation. You know, a guy was picking on my friend. I said, hey, what? You like, go, let's go. And I got in it, and the next thing I know, the guy's knee to the face, and I'm like, I'm a tooth less. I'm like, frick, how did that happen?
Yeah. and that's what I mean, man. Like how you introduced Jake to Paul and Paul to us and whatnot. Like that's the pain teacher. And I imagine being taught about the pain teacher in school, how, I mean, obviously it takes years to get used to that, but like actually at least you got a taste of, what is, like even knowing to self-reflect after you feel pain, whether that breaking your leg or someone punching you or emotional pain in your life, like some form of reflection to keep you safe from it again was not taught. And there's just so much wisdom we've taken from that stuff, not even just the diet, but, because you may have, maybe, why did you first see Paul? Was there an injury or something?
I think what it was is I hit that 40-year-old mark.
Yep.
And I was working really hard. My lifestyle was pretty crappy. And I was really a fork in the road in life for me, and at the time my partner was like telling me, hey, like you got to get in shape, you know, because I was like staying up really late, like trying to get work done so I could pay the bills. And, you know, you got to get, and I was also recognizing the fact that I wasn't healing as fast and I wasn't like doing good. Like I just wasn't, I was feeling the different, you know, wipeouts and stuff. I was getting a lot more. I'm like, wow, what's all this stuff? I'm not, you know, I'm not used to this. And I actually went to Maui. I don't remember if you remember that Maui contest, but I actually went over there and won it. And I'm thinking, shit, too. Like if I really got my body in optimal shape, like then what? Like what does that look like? So it was a combination of these things, and then, we reached out to him. Actually, Lisa, my wife at the time, reached out to him and said, hey, you know, I got this guy, you know, she wrote a nice letter, and somehow I got in there because he wasn't really seeing private clients anymore. But I think for whatever reason, the timing was divine. And he's like, yeah, come, you know what, come on over and I'll see you. Sick. And then I went there expecting, I'm going to go, get a gym program, you know? Yeah. So I get my sweats and I'm in my sweatshirt. I show up with my tennis shoes ready to go. Yeah. And he's like, hey, can you take your shoes off? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay. But how am I going to work out if I don't, you know? And so I'm like, I go into his library. He's like, yeah, I don't want dust in here, you know? And then I'm like, okay. So I went into his like main library and then it went from there, you know, and it's pretty wild. Like I really didn't expect like how that whole interaction was going to be. But I sat down and he's all, you know, why are you here? You know, because most people go to him because they have a problem. Well, I didn't really have a problem. I said, like, look, man, I'm going to church every day. I go to pipe. So I'm having my life. It feels good now, but I just want to go higher. I just want to take things further. I just want to see if I can get better. So, then he asked me some pretty poignant questions like, well, are you afraid of death? And I said, that's a pretty big question, you know, like, well, I guess I'm not afraid of being dead because I won't be able to sense it, but the process could be concerning. So he's like, are you interested in, you know, what's on the other side? And I said, yeah, I guess I suppose I am interested, you know. It's almost like the blue pill and the red pill.
Yeah. Morpheus.
Yeah, and so he leaves the room and stuff, and it was pretty wild. Like, you know, just the whole thing, the way he set it up was pretty artful. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, he left a card on the table, and it was just out of my reach. So, like, physically, I had to reach for it to see what was up. And, of course, I'm curious by nature. So I'm like going, okay, well, what's this? So I grab the card and look at it and see, like, Paul Chek, you know, shaman, and, you know, can administer medicinal substances for religious purposes. And I'm like going, oh, okay, all right. Just put it back up there. And he walks back in and he's like, okay, well, you know, would you like to, you know, go on a journey and know what's on the other side? And I'm like, yeah, sure. That sounds pretty cool. Wow. And then away we went, you know.
And was that ayahuasca? DMT?
DMT, yeah.
DMT,
we did a DMT trip. And I have to say, like, I casually say it, but it was a very like methodical, beautifully choreographed way that he did it all, because he had it like, you know, he had everything figured out. You know, I went to his place, and I mean, are we diving? I guess we're
I love it.
So okay, so I go to his place. He's all, okay, you see these speakers over here? He's all, don't mess with those speakers. And I'm just going, what? Like, what? Okay, why would I mess with speakers? Like, what the, you know? But then I get dawned on me. Okay, well, this could get kind of wild. Like, you know, like what's this all about? But he had a really beautiful progress and progression to getting to this state of this mental consciousness. So it was like, okay, so he started with different types of Indian rituals. Like he had some sage, and then he had like a hawk wing. So he's just kind of clearing your spiritual being, I guess. But all these steps were just kind of like this mental foundation to kind of build you up to this particular state of consciousness. And so the way he did it was artful. Like it was just so well done. And he had the right music and everything, you know, and then I think we did some, and I'm a pretty clean guy, you know. I drink very little, and I don't smoke. I don't like anything that kind of takes me away from my natural state of awareness and consciousness. So, and I'll get into that a little bit, because that's actually a really cool topic for me. But in this case, it was like, okay, I'm following his lead, and I asked Lisa, I'm like, hey, you know, this guy wants to go on this trip. You know, it's like, I don't know, man, this is going to be pretty nuts. Like, should I do this? She's like, go for it. I'm like, okay. So I'm in. So, I'm all in. I'm going to go for it, you know, like, and so he loads up a bag of, I think it was weed. I don't know for sure. But something, tobacco, I don't know what, some kind of, we vaporize it in a volcano. Yeah. And, you know, these things are now more commonly done. And so I'm a little bit more open to talk about these things because it's like before I was like, why are you doing drugs? You know?
Yeah, fully.
It's like, well, no, I took some plant medicine. Yeah. You know, it's not like I'm doing drugs now.
You know,
it's like, okay, sure. I did this one experience. Yeah. So, anyway, and then he had this, different, these, like metal gong type of things. And I remember I'm laying on a table hitting these gongs, and the frequency of the sound was such that I really felt like I was levitating, you know, just with whatever he gave me, administered, probably some pot or something. And then this harmonic frequency was just like really positive, you know, and I just was like, wow, this feels pretty good, you know. Yeah. And then it was a matter of like, hey, you know, where's the safe place for you? So if you do decide to go and try to experience this type of thing, I would just I would say it's mandatory to do it with a practitioner that knows what they're doing, that can set up the right scaffolding for you, that knows how the whole thing works. And there's actually a pretty cool opportunity for somebody to really understand how this works. I mean, Paul's a master at it. Yeah. But, to get it dialed in, because those types of steps to get to that top is really important. Yeah. So that when you do, because it's a pretty heavy, I mean, it's the heaviest thing you experience ever. I mean, it's one of the most gnarly things I ever experienced, you know, this gateway to death. And so, anyway, so, you know, I write down, he's all, hey, well, you need to write down what do you want out of this? So I remember writing some things down, and he had like hey, where's, you know, for you, like, where's the safe place for you? And, you know, so I told him, and, you know, so I think this was all, so he knows he could go back there if he needed to, right? Yeah. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to load this thing up, loads this bag up. And then, it's pretty heavy. He's like, okay, the important thing is you got to inhale most of this, because if you don't, like the most problems I've had is with people, they don't take the whole thing. And then they're in this like in between state. So, you know, I inhaled this, sat down on the mat, and he's, you know, took a big hit, like did the whole thing, sat down on the mat, and he put on some like amazing music that was just like transformative. Like as soon as I heard that, I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. Like, and then a sensation of just like, you know, overwhelming sensation of death came over me, which is like just this, okay, well, I'm dying now. And apparently, I guess it's the same chemical that goes through your body when you're dying. But it was a feeling where, you know, if you drink something, or, you know, you're doing a joint or something, you can always like understand that you're being infected by an intoxicant that's like making you feel like this. Yes. In this case, it was not that. Like intuitively, like I just knew every cell in my body, I'm dying. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, why am I dying now? Why am I going through this now? Because I'm not really wanting to die, but maybe these guys think it's time for me to go, and it's like it's my time for me. So I'm like trying to like figure out why. But that feeling of unsettling feeling of your ego being dissolved is just like as heavy as it gets, right? Because you're terrified. I was getting terrified. Like, okay, I'm dying. Like, fuck, I don't really want to die right now. So the one thing he said prior to this episode was, you know, when you get to the point of total fear, when you are at the point of complete terror because you're meeting the detachment of your ego and drifting into this next phase of existence, is meet that with unconditional love. And so this is a great thing I tell a lot of my friends that are passing away. I tell them the same thing. You know, like you got to get to that state where you're just feeling unconditional love. And if you can get to that state, you can make that transition a lot smoother. So he told me that, and it was like all important. So I'm just going, okay, unconditional love, like unconditional love, like trying to get through this barrier, you know, and then you drift off. So that's it. So you feel like at that point, okay, I go, that's it, I'm out. And I thought it was final. Like I'm done. 10, 15 minutes comes along. you regain consciousness. And the first thing I remember is like, fuck, I'm not dead. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, like that was like, yeah.
Wow.
But then you get all this like, which is really interesting and really profound. You know, you get this feeling of interconnectivity where there's no time, there's no space. And it's was for me an incredible blissful experience. So your connection with God, I would say. And so it's like a crash course to enlightenment. You know, you're taking this and you're getting to that stage, and you're getting there, you know, which is, it's medicinal. Like you're getting there with something else. So mentally, you definitely need that scaffolding so that when you get to that point, you're not losing your mind.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty intense, you know? So for me, it was super positive, and I had a lot of reflection, but it certainly instantly put everything in perspective, like what's important and what's not important, you know, all this babble that's in your head versus, you know, the true importance of love and connection with the right people and in the world around us. So all these things like come into immediate focus, or at least they did for me. Like that was my experience. And, you know, it's said like, you know, it's not describable because it's feeble in my attempt in trying to explain it. But if you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, you reach this state where you're just connected. And that's when Paul said, yeah, now you know what it is to me with God. Like, you know, I know what that God state is. So I've only reached that state twice in my life. And that was the first time. The other time I did a meditative retreat, it took me 3 weeks of meditating intensely with a very strict protocol and doing it in just the right way. And it seemed like it happened by chance.
Yeah.
Because if you focus too much on the end result of doing it, you don't reach it. You got to be just not expecting it, and you got to be clear-minded, and you just let it unfold. And if you're lucky, it might happen, it might not. So, but
That's
anyway,
cool.
that was it. So from that point, I understood like, okay, this is like this one state. And, you know, he made a couple profound, you know, statements, which I thought were pretty wild, but made sense. Like, you know, all paths lead to God. So eventually we're all going to get there. Like we're all going to this next state, this next plane of existence, whatever you want to call it. And I believe that most of the stuff that we bundle around this final act is human construct. You know, where we end up is a different place, and what we end up doing might not be what people expect. But you got to be so open-minded that, at least in my opinion, you need to be very open-minded to that final, I guess, point that you're in, you know. But I think it's beyond human conscious, beyond human knowledge and what we, you know, I mean, we can talk about it and try to like, you know, poke at it, but it's like beyond. Yeah. Just all at once. Words, like there's no.
Yeah. Well, that's an experience I had the other day with meeting.
Yeah, you're telling me that.
Like pure,
super cool.
Pure terror, like death feeling.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I didn't take anything, and I was just like, I met it with. I didn't say I met it. I just kind of let it be, and then it turned into joy. I could see the joy underneath it, but it was like fear at its like highest state. Like I don't think you can really experience fear at a higher state unless you're dying, because your mind can't comprehend it. So it was like that fear of like that feeling that you explained. I felt like I got a taste of that, and I was like, it was the first time in my life I looked at it instead of ran from it, because I wanted to get up out of the room and run.
Wow.
So I was like, fuck, that's pretty nuts. But what it's given me to integrate is like, why am I so afraid of stepping out of my shell and showing the whole world who I really am? You know, that includes my shadows and and all that stuff. Because like, how can you be a fully integrated human if you can't express who you really are?
So Jake, who are you really?
Well, I'm part of everything. I think
we all are.
I think that what I am is like someone who can express how I truly feel all the time, and that's ever changing. And I think that's important to be able to do that and
communicate
and not hide my anger, and not hide that I do have a switch, and then not hide my loving, vulnerable side. You know, I think it's like we're just so many things, but that's all you are. It's just a bunch of things. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, we were talking about it on the podcast this morning. Like I was saying how, because his recent meditation technique is just watching the thoughts. So no counting, no watching the breath or anything, just sitting and watching the thoughts, nothing else. And I've been doing it a bit recently. And I get to a point where I see I explain it like I see the me as the powerful, just the magic in itself. Everything's the magic. Like when you're saying the DMT, like I've done it once before too. Definitely not in a nice spiritual journey place, but it was out of a plastic bong out of my friend's house.
Oh man!
And I had no idea.
No, don't do it.
I didn't even know what it was. I was like, oh, I'll try this, and then got blasted off. You know, saw a lady with snakes in her hair and all sorts of stuff. Like you couldn't trip any harder. You know.
Wow. Was that just DMT, or was there anything else?
I think it was maybe spun with a little bit of weed, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I can't really remember, but it was, and it didn't last 15 minutes. It was like 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But 2 hard minutes. Yeah. I broke through.
Did you broke through? Did you get through? Yeah.
Yeah. But my breakthrough, I couldn't at the start. I couldn't breathe. So I was going, like I wouldn't be able to breathe. And I felt like I couldn't find my arms. I had like 8 arms. I was doing this. And it looked like I was having a fit on the couch to everyone else. But this is the crazy thing. I could see myself and I could see the room from above, which was out there. And I could see the fear in my friend's face watching me thinking, is he going to be okay? I saw all that while I'm watching my body. I'm like, they would be freaking out seeing me do that. I remember thinking that, right? And also the fear of like, oh, this is way different. Like this, you know, I don't know what to expect. I didn't know it was going to be this intense, you know? And it just went whoom. And I was like, oh shit. And then I had to give in. And the giving in for me was a breath. So I couldn't breathe. Felt like I was suffocating. And then it was like, which is almost similar to when people die. They take that big last breath. And
terminal gasp, they call that.
Yeah. And then I broke through. And similar, I didn't really take note of, but that's what I did feel. When I came out of it, I actually started laughing hysterically. And I laughed, they were all watching me. And I was like laughing at how ridiculously intense that was, sort of.
Yeah.
But all I saw was a tree outside that was blossoming. And it was like almost LSD. It was a flower that was blossoming and imploding and blossoming and imploding, like almost like a fire. And it wasn't doing that, but it was clear as day doing that with my eyes. And the tree is the first thing I saw. Everything in the house I didn't, but as soon as I saw the tree, I was just laughing when I was looking at it.
Yeah.
But I was 20 at the time, you know, in that stage of my life. I went to prison like 6 months after that for like 7 months. So that was a stage of my life. And what I got from the female energy was like a slap on the head, sort of like looking at me like a mother, but like, what are you doing? You know, she wasn't speaking or anything. That was, even the point of view was like from here.
Yeah.
And it was like a black woman.
Yeah.
But
there's definitely some magic, you know, to be had from and integrate from those experiences, I think. And
for me, it showed me, oh shit, magic's real. There's something deeper. It was my first taste on something deeper. Did you have that awareness before it, or was that your first? I know you were going to see Paul for a shoulder or something, but obviously it introduced you to a whole different path, a fork in the road. And did you start delving deeper into all that sort of stuff after that experience?
In terms of everything, you mean like the
spirituality?
I mean, I guess I've been fairly spiritual my whole life. Not so much religious, but kind of spiritual. And then that was definitely like a pinnacle in some respects, because it was a glimpse into that which is not normal. Like you wouldn't normally see or experience what that is, like to know what is on the other side of life. And at least that's my perception of it. So that in itself was very kind of enlightening and transformative. You know, I did get some I guess you'd call them visual types things. And so mine were kind of more like geometric patterns, black and white.
I saw all that, yeah. Yeah,
like black and white, like this, these triangles and, you know, things kind of like just like reality or matter, antimatter, like kind of thing. Like what's kind of interesting, you know, and I think it might have to do just with the mechanics of humans and how we look in a horizontal, like our horizons are horizontal. You know, our spaces obviously are dynamic and changing, but when we look out over distance, you know, we got a sky, we got horizon. And maybe even in our case, being on the water so much, there's that, because that shape seems like it's a reoccurring theme. Like I remember going to Canary Islands, they had the natives. Remember there's that one, I don't know if you ever went, did you ever go to that museum in Galdar where it's like the native people and they kind of take you deep inside of the cave?
I think I did that. Hey,
so deep inside of the cave, there's patterns. Yeah. And those patterns were what I was seeing.
Wow.
So I looked at it, wow, that's kind of what I was seeing. So I kind of like concluded that maybe that's just kind of more of the human experience where you get these artifacts like that. But it was very interesting. Like,
it's like a kaleidoscope for me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like like, that's the way I could imagine it. And I heard like transformer sounds, like, and I didn't know if that was the music they were putting on or. And I was like, what soundtrack is that? It definitely wasn't music. You know? And it was, yeah.
How about you, Jake?
Yeah, well, I had, when I broke my leg, I had morphine, green whistle, and then they put heaps of ketamine in my blood. And I was like sitting there and they were pulling my bone to go back in my, yeah. And I was, I saw shapes. Like I went to a different place and saw shapes. So that was interesting to hear you say that because mine was black and white.
Same.
And I was like, there's no color here.
Yeah.
I was like, why is there no color? But I was in this whole other realm. And,
oh, wow. Interesting.
Then,
you know what? I've always kind of thought, and especially recently, like, maybe, and maybe this is like science hasn't really tapped into this yet, but, now like when you look at time and how we process time, it's like through this, we're always thinking past, present, and future. But in reality, there's a present. And then we're kind of like going through this situation, and it's almost like there's additional dimensions just on the other side of what we're experiencing. And I think sometimes I think that, as humans, we have the capacity to kind of, maybe it's just our imagination, but to get out of this dimension and go into another dimension. And I mean, you could argue to say that imagination and that other consciousness is a different dimension, but I'm talking more from a physical world, like from the fact that, there's time and space here, but maybe we are just on the other, and through our minds, we have the capacity as humans to be able to go past the dimension that we're in. At least I know we can think about it, because if you think about what's faster than light, I mean, thought is faster than light, right? Like I can think about being in the middle of the sun right now, and otherwise it would take me 9 minutes. So
that's
right.
True. Yeah.
So there's that. So I don't know. That's just kind of an interesting side note, but I kind of feel like that is something that maybe we haven't really totally tapped into yet, because I've had a lot of really wild miracles happen in times where it's like the chances of it happening, the odds of it happening are just so extreme that it doesn't make sense. So, those types of things are like,
how does it,
yeah. So I think that intuition, and that goes back from caveman days, right? Like your intuition and your just feeling of that. So I think that there is maybe it's not quite recognized yet, but I think that there is almost like a human trait that goes past your physical world and your conception of time, like and space. Like it's the next dimension past that, maybe, or two. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I always talk about when you write things down and they somehow happen, like manifestation, all that sort of stuff. And I wonder if that's tapping into that as a human thing. Like I write down sometimes things as a joke, like as a test. Fucking happens, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, and superficial things that aren't even that, like, wait, let's just test this one. Boom, boom, boom. Like I always talk about the story. We did it for Jake's ring. I was reading this book. It was all about manifestation, typical one, but EM squared or something.
Yeah.
By Pamela Grout. And great book. And she goes, put times on things, like say, something exciting to happen within 48 hours, whatever. And we did it for his ring. Within 48 hours, 47 and a half hours later or something, he puts his shoe on and he steps in his ring,
Oh, wow.
And I was just like I was like, oh, I sort of knew that was going to happen. Like, it's just.
Well, I was looking at my, I got a house in Watala now, and then it's been 10 years since I wrote down my manifestation. I said 10-year goal, house in Watala.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Epic.
Toyota troop carrier.
Really?
4 kids, 2 dogs. I got 4 dogs, 2 kids. I don't have the kids, but I got 2 dogs, got the car, got the house in Watala. And for that to happen, like a lot of things had to happen. Like Dad had to pass away. He had to leave me inheritance. Like he left me $200,000 to buy a house. And like I didn't even know I was going to get that for a long time. So I don't,
Yeah.
it's just freaky. Like you said, how
Yeah.
something else is at play.
It's and you know what I noticed too, like, and this kind of goes back to another idea that I remember when I was trying to create my first products in my business, and you're making space for something that didn't exist before, and so it's kind of met with resistance the whole time. But to your point, like bringing something into manifestation, it's like that moment that you like take something out of your mind and you put it into like, you know, I just did this conference recently and I had a slide up that just showed the pen hitting the paper and making a line. Like that moment where you start to manifest, that's like the first point of manifestation of your idea. So, you know, it's important to get these ideas out of your body and out of your mind and like either into your phone. So it's like digital, electronic, there's electrons in that sense, or on a page that you can write it down. So I do feel like you got to make space for it in the universe. And then with that space, it starts the cascading effect, perhaps. I don't know, but it definitely seems like
mine was on my phone.
Yeah.
It always is. I saw a diagram the other day. It's one of those kinetic, those kinetic balls that hit one ball.
Yeah.
That was the diagram saying just start.
Yeah.
It just ripples that.
Beautiful.
And I was like, that's a really good example.
Yeah, that's
of that.
cool, man.
Yeah. And that's so inspiring, like, especially with you, like meeting you over here in the last couple of days, like you're saying, you know, the next 10 years of your life, you want to be at your optimal health and perform at your very best.
Yeah.
And that's so inspiring. And I truly believe you can do that because I've just seen it, you know.
Yeah, well,
like,
you're making me more confident with like your energy and your spirit and your knowledge. Your knowledge now, Jake, is amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Both of you guys,
Cool.
man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
How old are you?
62.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, and it's well, my mum's 67 or 8, coming up 68. She plays pickleball all the time. You know, she said to me a couple of days ago, and she hasn't treated her body well. She hasn't treated it bad, but not how you've been living, you know? And she goes, I honestly felt the same as I did when I was 18, really. She's like, she's one of those women that's like nothing really, like she gave birth and then goes to a class the next day, you know? So doesn't really like wallow in it. But she goes, I felt like same as I was 18 until like just recently she said she started to feel it.
Yeah.
But now she feels good again, you know?
Well, man, yeah, like assessing Mike yesterday, I was like, fuck, body that works. Like
Yeah, nice.
all the core tests were working.
What were some big finds?
He just had kind of locked internal rotation in the hips.
Okay.
But then it showed up as tight abductors. So so I was like, okay, that's easy.
Yeah.
And then a little bit, the head was a tiny bit forward, but like all stuff that's like super easy to fix. But the way he moved was amazing, like like the lunging and everything. And then it made sense as he showed me some of his stuff he did with Paul. I was like, this all makes sense now. And I was stoked because I feel like it was divine timing. Because the program that I was writing, I just felt like the energy behind it was like, this is right, this is right, this is right. You know, it was really easy to write. I was like, that's what I need to give him. That's what I need to give him.
And were you not doing much myofascial stuff like rolling?
A little bit. I was doing a little bit of that, but all the stretches that I requested of last time, I said, hey, look, just intuitively, I was asking if I could get more myofascia. So I think it was JP at the time. I'm like, hey, I would like to really focus on this. So basically, they took they took the assessment, and by the way, you know what's wonderful about this whole thing is you guys do such a wonderful job of assessing the situation before you're making prescriptions for it, and that's like to me all important.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, you know that's where I was, and I said, hey, I would really like to focus on myofascia because I know that I'm getting jarred a lot in what I'm doing, and so I want to be able to be injury free, and I really want to focus on myofascia and making sure that I'm that's all stretched out and nice and supple and as healthy as it can be. So most of the stretches that I do are all myofascial stretches, just by making small tweaks like cranking just to get your, to just stretch it out. So, but, and then some of the rollers, I did some of the rolling and stuff, but as I was explaining to Jake today, like once you get it to a certain point, you don't really need to do it.
Yeah.
So, but he showed me some stuff
spots,
today, like weird spots, like, I've never even think about like getting in these weird places,
Yeah.
And
did you get in the armpit at all?
Yeah. We did the armpit.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck?
I was thinking because any surfer, any paddling type stuff that's internal rotation, right? And the subscap that you release is the prime mover of internal rotation. So that's one that messes with people's shoulders a lot.
Yeah.
You just got to look at whatever their thing is that they're doing lots of and think, there should be a little bit of a system in there. like with jiu-jitsu, we do a lot of like knee flexion, guard, this sort of stuff. So we got to make sure our hip flexors are sort of primed. Or if someone's sitting behind a desk all day, right behind there is always sore in their lateral hamstring, because it's literally, if you think of it like a sponge, it's like there's a contraction, it's pushing the water out. And if they're not getting that oscillation, which we're not running down animals anymore, then they probably do need to do a little bit of unwinding at the end of the day. And it goes away, and some of it never comes back. And some of it's a little routine. You touch on a couple of weeks later, it's a little bit there, but it takes you 20 seconds instead of 2 weeks to get rid of the spot.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important, and one of the biggest overlooked things as people age, because technically the fascia does dry out as we age, but maybe that is because of just not using it, right? And you can't stretch a fascial adhesion out. It needs to be, because we forget that we're matter, we're sticky stuff too, you know? So we are glue, we're collagen, we're gelatin. So we do stick. So you can't always stretch. It's like a knot in a rope trying to pull the knot. You know, you got to unwind that knot, get a ball or hands or whatever, just get a bit of fluid to it so it slides and glides, and then you can actually stretch the whole fiber. Because people have trigger points in their quads, go stretch their quad, but only this area is stretching, and there's the knot, so that's bunched up and that's not getting as good as a stretch. So my personal rule of my own body now is I don't stretch a muscle unless I've hydrated it first with something. And sometimes I'll go straight to stretching because I know that muscle's good. But if I got trigger points all through it, I just spend a couple minutes, clean it out, and then you'll find, I can go an extra 30 degrees than where I was when I was trying to stretch it beforehand. It blows your mind when you feel it. And also lymphatic flow for people. Like we've seen that, we had a girl that had a swollen hand for 2 years, and rolling out a rib cage got rid of it. And don't even know what that was. Don't know, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. But like we forget that that's all plumbing. That's the matter. That's the stickiness. And that stickiness is flow, is water. And water is electron. Water is how the electrical signal circulates through our body. So not just drinking the water, but getting the water to the parts of your body. And then once you do the foam rolling, then moving your body in those different planes of motion and mixing it up, like not always going forward and back or even rotation, like rotating that way, rotating that way. What does that side feel like? What does that side feel like? And you'll be blown away of how much you can actually balance your body with a bit of connecting to the feel of it all, not even having knowing the anatomy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I was saying to Mike. I was like, it's interesting. You see, like one side will be like excruciating, the other side will be not too bad, but that's your body just guiding you on where you need to release, and
it's always accurate. 9 times out of 10, you can tell that's sore, that's going to hurt more, that's going to hurt more. It's usually the short area that hurts more. So you can find.
And that's what's cool with the Chek stuff, because you assess it, and we'll see that you got limited internal rotation at the hip. So we go to the muscles like that internally rotate the hip, like the TFL, and we put the ball there, and of course it's like, that hurts, you know, it's like tight, you know, as well as strengthen what's long and weak. It's just cool to know that, and it's pretty, like he says, very, very accurate.
TFL is like one of the biggest ones that limit people's external rotation.
Yes.
Like cooks it.
Yeah,
it's like such a.
Is that little knot on your side here? Oh my gosh, that was
right
sore.
there, man. Yeah, it's just common.
It's good though, man.
Yeah,
that'll free you up massively.
So wow, it's all interconnected, right? Then you get back to like the importance of water.
Water.
Well, it's one big cobweb. Just one. I mean, it's all separate in session origins, but you forget. It's
Speaking of which,
cobweb.
this is not coffee. This is water. They got me some cacao, which I had. And I finished it and I just poured water in it.
Nice. Do you drink coffee?
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, nice. That's
why
respectable. You're youthful. Coffee just dries you out. Doesn't it?
I don't drink coffee. I try not to do mind altering. Any sort of
stimulants.
Yeah, I mean, not that I don't ever do it. Like sometimes it's fun to get a buzz or whatever, but I just don't do it often because I just don't like the consequences. You know, especially how you feel afterwards. You know, and getting back to this idea of just being observant and paying attention to how you feel after you do certain things.
That's so true.
Yeah, like you mentioned even right now, like how do you feel after?
Yeah.
So that's really.
How can you do that if you're high on coffee? You know, you're just like, go on, let's go. Yeah. And that's, man, the biggest thing I've learned in the last, because I've only been doing these meditations about 6 weeks, but the biggest thing I've learned is like the self-observation is so much, it's turned up a whole nother level because
awesome.
3 times a day I get to self-reflect on how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and what's going on in my body. And I had like anxiety yesterday, Arvo, just a general anxiety, and I just went and sat on the chair and I was like, there it is, and then just like dropped it and then hopped off the chair and I could be calm again. It's like just so good, man, to have that.
Amazing.
But, yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking about like the bodyboarding community, right?
Mm.
And what do you feel like has changed from back when you were doing it like hard out to now? Is there something that's shifted in the bodyboarding community, in your opinion, in regards? Because I know people like yourself and Jake like is almost making health cool, because that's not was never cool in the skating community, the surfing community. It wasn't even really cool in the MMA community. Now it's sort of getting there. Health is becoming cool now. It's like starting to become a bit of awareness, right? Because it was always just like get pissed and punch on or whatever it may be, you know? Do you feel like something shifted in the energy of the sport these days?
I don't know. I mean, I think like I haven't really been to ever. I don't think I've ever would have got into bodyboarding if it was about being cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just what felt right. And
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's so much the cool factor or the trend, but I mean, I've always been about trying to be as fit as you can to try to like. Like I've always thought like, okay, you want to get to a particular destination, you got to weigh as many things in your favor to accomplish that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that means everything, you know? And so, you know, if I knew the Chek stuff and I knew the diet, like in my earlier career,
You would have done it.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
You know, gosh, you know, it was very helpful. Yeah. Very helpful. And, you know, I just wanted to make like a fun little thing to do if you have kids, like, and getting to that idea of observation is like, you know, if they want it, because they're like, hey, I want sugar, you know, I want this candy bar or whatever. Okay, you can have that, but in 20 minutes, this is what's going to happen. You and your sister are going to get in a fight. You guys are going to get grumpy, and then, you know, let them have it. And then 20 minutes, and then when I say that, you got to really ponder how you're feeling and stuff. And so you do that a couple of times, and then they self-regulate.
Yeah.
Because
Really?
they realize like, I'm going to get all
Yeah. So they observe.
boss. Yeah.
Whoa. That's
So
pretty cool, man.
Interesting little.
That's-
I want to share that with
Yeah,
people.
that's
if you got
huge.
kids, like,
It's very helpful.
and it's hard because you know you got these other this desire the kids have for food and stuff. But anyway, sorry to take
that's
off track.
gold.
It just came to mind.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, Paul. I think does the same thing. I think Ben Greenfield was doing the same thing
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Just like bring like, because when you say no, fuck, you can.
Yeah,
they're gonna. It just doesn't
Yeah.
work.
No means yes times 2.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
always tell the story. Like my cousin, his neighbor was never allowed to play with the toy guns, so he ended up joining the army. You know.
Yeah.
And Mickey, his mum would never like always have to give him like she was giving him good shit like cereal and stuff.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? And so therefore he just like loved sugar when he like was free from the home. You know.
Yeah, same thing with my daughter. Like, oh my gosh, like we never used to give her sugar, and then one time she got like she saw one of those during Christmas, like a candy house,
Yeah.
and we're all Nella. Like we kind of caught her, and then instead of like pulling back, she just went. Just started munching it. It's like, whoa, what's going on?
Oh, that's so good.
So funny.
Just before we wrap it up, I just wanted to do one more question for you. What was your like most intense wave and experience that you've had in your life? Because a few that come to mind, like that huge one you paddled at Chopu, just for the listener, I think they'll really like this question, and the one you paddled at Jaws very early on. Like what was, or is there any others that we don't know about that has been the most intense ocean experience?
Gosh, man, there's been so many.
I know.
You know, sending it at ship sterns would be up there.
Oh, true. Recently too.
Yeah, that was like,
Fuck.
I just figured, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just going to try to send it, and maybe I could flying squirrel into the flats, land like a roll or a big
That was
move.
big.
And the problem was there's negative curvature. So it's like, instead of like this, you know, landing like that, you're landing like that.
Yeah,
and so it's just like, was the worst.
Yeah.
So that was bad, but probably the worst, you know, and I've been blessed not to get killed, but I've had incredible experiences, you know, in the oceans. It's been amazing. Maybe the body surfing in Tahiti was probably the most dangerous.
Yeah.
And I got probably the most fucked up I've ever been. Like, you know, I was body surfing. Everything was going cool. I was learning new techniques and going faster and faster, and like finding new parts of my body to plane off of. And I was able to make some sections and stuff.
Yeah.
But I kept getting sucked over.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, I'd go to the bottom, I'd cut out, and I'd still get sucked over. So I kept getting sucked over. And it wasn't too bad when I was on the outside of the reef. But, you know, my idea was, okay, I'm going to go as fast as I can go and then get out, you know? So I figured, okay, I'll go to the inside. I'll try to get as fast as I can go and I'll cut out. And so I did it. I went to the inside. I was blazing. Everything was cool. Cut out. Okay, I made it. Yeah, cool, man. Okay, fuck, this is good. And then all of a sudden I just felt myself slowly going like this. Before I know it, I'm going, oh God, I'm going over backwards now on the inside. And
so shallow.
What do you mean going over backwards though?
Like getting sucked over that way?
Yeah, so I'm ducking in.
Oh,
So,
going up the wave to get out.
Yeah, so
Oh,
my head's
fuck,
here, my fins are here.
Yeah.
I cut out, and then I'm like this, and then I go like that.
Yeah.
And I'm going over backwards, and I'm just going, oh shit, this is not good. Like I just felt in the lip, like, oh, I'm gonna hit the bottom. And right before I could say that, I just started slamming the bottom, my back and my lower back. Like I just missed my spine. And while I'm hitting, I'm going, you know what? This is, if I hit my head right now and I knock out, that's it.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any flotation. It's not like a board's gonna float me out.
Yeah, true.
I have no flotation. I just have trunks and fins. And I'm thinking, this is as gnarly as it gets. And I just missed my head, you know, like I tucked up and I tried to go like this and try to be as, you know, I've been surfing a reef my whole life. So I know how to eat it on reef, but this is another level, right?
Yeah.
And so, I got really messed up. I got stitches. I got like strips of skin off my back and just got totally screwed up.
So that experience scared you more than like paddling that huge one on the bodyboard at
Well, you know
Jaws,
how
or-
it is when it's big. It's like, frick, you
It's
send
like-
it and it's
yeah.
just like you're in. Once you go, you
Yeah.
commit. You're so focused. And
it's a bit different where, in that situation where it's all
Yeah.
slow motion
Yeah.
almost like.
I think, I mean, Jaws, huge. I mean, the ones you probably see, I got towed.
Yeah.
The early days, I did paddle Jaws before, but
Yeah. That big, the big one.
the big one was a tow in.
Yeah.
And I got no flotation, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, just a lycra just charging it on a
Dude.
boat. So there's like, no, you know, that was before all that.
That's crazy.
And
yeah.
that was a little bit, you know, but once you, taking off, trying to get down the face, starting to get out of control now. Oh God, get in control. Okay, I'm kind of in control. Oh God,
Yeah.
you know, things starts lining up and bowling, and like you got one choice. You know, I can't. If I
Yeah.
straighten out now, I'm gonna get like detonated.
Exactly.
You know, by a 30-foot wave. You know, so I'm like, okay, I gotta hug the face and try to pull in, and so that's what I ended up doing. You know, just kind of slowly scooping in. But Tahiti is it's a whole nother world too, right? Like you know, you got these waves coming in, and a lot of them are very daunting. Like, and it's not something like, oh, it's coming in now, I can catch it. It's
it's like
you gotta you see the wave coming, and it's the only break where you turn around and you start paddling hard as you can in if you want to catch it, because that's the only way you're gonna catch it. You know, it will suck you up, and then you take off late.
Yeah.
So those are like balls to the wall, just sending it. You know, you just gotta just charge and just pray.
Yeah.
You know. But, you know, once you get on the wave, it's okay, right? The wave does most of the work or all the work, really. You just got to scoop in and position yourself, and it's going to push you through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but man, so many different experiences.
I could imagine, man.
Being solo sometimes. Like I remember being solo on some really scary big days.
Fuck.
That was pretty, like, you know, when you, more than fear, you know, you start feel panicking seeping in. Like you're just going, oh, this is not good. Like it's getting dark now. It's 25 feet. I'm by myself, you know, outer reef, and it's getting dark now. I'm losing my lineups. It's too dark to see my lineups. I don't know where I am in the lineup. Am I too far in? Am I too far out? Oh, frick. If I lose my board now, I'm a mile out. Like, oh, shit. Like these kind of things, you know, and you just got to like, oh, God. So it's just like going back and forth. Like, okay, am I too far in? Oh, no, I think I see a set. Like, go back out, because you don't want to get caught. If you lose your board, you're screwed. Yeah. You know, you're like so far out, and how are you going to get in, man? It's so gnarly.
Dude, the first time I was out second reef, like you just said, come out, Jake, like that. And the comfort, like how comfortable you looked for me, because I was in big waves for my first time. I was like 19, and it was like big teepees, like 15-foot teepees coming through at second reef. Yeah. And I was just like, I remember we just got under one, and I was like, oh, fuck this. I'm out of here. I fucking hate this. Like, this is way too scary. But you were fine, man. And it's like, it's interesting how comfortable you feel in that.
I think it's relative, you know? Like, imagine that. Okay, so those waves, that's like half size.
Yeah.
The outer reefs are like double that.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like, you're way out, and it's like raw, and it's like hollow and scary.
Is that Phantom's Left, or is it?
Well, Phantom's Left is another level up.
Yeah.
That'd be like up to about 18 feet. And then you can go to other waves that are like 25, 30 feet.
Holy shit.
So it's, you go, that's the transition. You go pipe, Phantoms to the outer reefs, these other ones.
Well,
like Himalayas and stuff. And it's just really a matter of spending time doing it and growing, slowly kind of exploring into these other realms.
That's what it is. It's another
totally.
realm. Like if you put anyone who doesn't have any experience like that, it's so far incomprehensible. And you know what was similar, man, is snowboarding. Like my friends are like
going down big hills,
jumping off these, like the first time I saw it, I was like, this is like surfing massive waves. Like they just jump off a 100-foot cliff. I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah, that's wild. But it's all relative, right? Like if you, like I use the analogy of driving. Like if you're driving at 200K and you slow down to 150, you probably feel like, oh, this is pretty slow.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're starting at 100, you go to 150, that seems super fast. So as you work your way up, it becomes relative.
It's like how when we were chatting about like how you were sort of like, fuck, I couldn't see myself jumping in the cage. And I think of any of those waves as 100 times scarier than walking into a cage and fighting another man, Because it's like a ref's gonna stop shit. You know what I mean? I know someone can hit you bad.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
It's just like,
but that's pretty
nature.
daunting too. Yeah.
It's
If you have a pretty gnarly opponent, that'd suck.
Yeah. If you had
if
you had a gnarly opponent for months of like lack of sleep thinking about the fight every night, that would suck. Yeah. But still, fuck. If someone said in 2 months I got to go out and fight and go out and pipeline, I'd be like, whoa, man. Like I just think I'd automatically know I'm fucked. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have a.
Yeah, it might take you a few years to get to that, like, but you could do it. If you had the right
consistency,
steps.
Yeah, like anything.
Anyone, I mean, shit, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
I think like guys like yourself have really paved the way for that. Like especially surfing bigger waves. Like I never like seeing you, Ryan Hardy, and Mitch Rawlins and all that start to really. I mean, you were the very first, and then the other guys followed in thing. But seeing it before you, it's achievable.
Yeah, that's right. It's
but
doable.
like you kind of set the pace for people, which is like it's more of an innovator, and that's always 1,000 times scarier because it hasn't been done before.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah,
for
true.
Me, Like I really like, I like going places that are not, people haven't been that before, or often, So I like to explore like what's possible. That's why I'm really keen on this like next chapter, because I want to see what's possible, like
fuck yeah,
here we go, man. We got like 60s and 50s are amazing.
Yeah.
So 60s can be pretty amazing too if I do it right. I gotta I gotta prepare for it. It's not like something that's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
has it been
with your guys' help,
for
thanks.
sure, definitely, man.
Yeah.
And has it been so like what's been your favorite era of life so far?
50s.
Yep.
60s. This is good.
Why is that?
Amazing.
Do you think that's because you feel so at home in yourself and?
Yeah, I have so much more perspective on life and appreciation, for so many more things, and just a lot more knowledge about everything. So that's super helpful to go into situations and all from social situations to like dealing with things in nature, etc. Like just having a better base of data to kind of draw from, and then properly trying to prepare for that.
Yeah.
So I feel like my 50s in particular, I was really like my body wasn't like, it was still working optimally. I was probably in the best shape of my life like maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The fact that I've been traveling a lot kind of limits my ability to get better shape. But I when I was 18, I couldn't touch my toes,
Yeah.
I was so stiff.
Yeah.
So I'm in better shape probably than then.
Yeah.
Now I can't recover as fast and I'm not as flexible likely.
Yeah.
Or don't recover from problems. I think I am more flexible actually, but not I don't recover just because I have an older body. But if there's things I can do to try to mitigate that or improve on that, that's what I'm all about. Like trying to, and I'm just exploring. Like I have no idea what this decade's gonna be, but I want to make it as more rad as I can.
Yeah, for sure.
So so that's why I'm here. Checking with you guys and like getting the
That
latest
sounds
updates.
so fun, man.
Yeah, I know. It's so inspiring, eh?
Yeah.
Is there any like any supplement or anything you take that you like really get behind? That you're like, I noticed this,
Good food,
Yeah.
good water, good rest, workout.
Yeah.
So, I think we started the conversation with like the things that are key: breath, water, diet, flexibility, stretching, good workout routine, and rest, rest, making sure you're getting adequate rest. So those are my supplements, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in exploring, and learning more about it. I know there's probably things that I'm deficient in. And so I'm totally into like trying to figure out what those are and trying to like get onto it. I know you guys, you've provided me with a couple things.
Sick. You gave him some.
Yeah.
So I'm really keen to try this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I said it again in the potty this morning, but my roommate was talking about, he had some liver yesterday and he goes, man, fuck, I felt good for ages. He goes, I feel so good. And I was like, do you not have it that much? Because I have it often. And he's like, nah. And I was like, man, your supplements, make sure your supplements, you're using Evolution as a standard for your supplements. So Evolution, we had lots of shellfish, we had lots of organ meats.
Yeah, high purine.
Yeah. Everything else, cool. But we definitely had shellfish. Like I looked at or like oysters and some form of like crustaceans we're eating a lot of, and even freshwater, and organ meats. So not just liver either, but like find some kidneys, find some heart.
I thought I heard like, maybe this is wrong, but like that's what they used to eat. Like they were all about the organs and the muscle. I guess all the regular meat that we're eating now, like steaks and stuff. That was like secondary. We want the meat. We want the organs.
Yeah,
and they're the most high purine organ meat. I mean that's what Paul says too. Like,
yeah. Well, I watched these African Hazda people talk about it, and they were having honey and liver, and they were like, eat this liver, makes you strong. And they have no science that backs it up. They just know from thousands of years of wisdom. But now we know liver literally from nature's perspective is the most nutrient dense food in the world. And second to that is oysters. So that's why I'm like, and oysters cover zinc. Oysters are nature's mineral, like biggest source of zinc, which is fertility, immunity, hair, nails.
So is it oyster shells or is it oyster organism?
Nah, it's oyster.
It's
proper
flesh.
oyster.
Oyster
flesh. Okay.
Yeah. And we got New Zealand. We're the only one, I think, in the world because they're all Chinese oysters. Everything's Chinese oysters, which is shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So oysters would be filtering. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
they
liver
do.
is filtering too. So how do you, like, are both of those things like susceptible to their environment? Like if there's toxicity in the environment?
Yeah. So I know apparently the liver, it doesn't actually store it. So it filters it, but itself, expels it. So apparently liver doesn't store it. As long as everything's good, like ours are all organic, right? So you still got to make it sure it's a good source.
How'd you guys find that, man?
We tried 2 years ago, couldn't do it. And then we finally got a New Zealand wild oysters, which is as good as it gets,
Far out, man.
And we tested it. And even to the other ones, they're more mineral rich.
Yeah.
I checked it against these other ones. I was like, fuck yeah. But I'm just a believer because when I have oysters fresh, I feel it. It makes me horny, basically. It's meant to because it's full of zinc. When I have liver, assuming I haven't, like, I don't have it all the time. I don't think you should have anything every day except water. Like, rotate everything, right? But same with organ meats. You get one liver from a cow, you get a tribe. Everyone's going to get a piece of that. They're not going to have it every day. Same thing with the shellfish. You'll have, I think, 6 oysters covers like your weekly zinc for everything. So that's how mineral rich they are. So I have a dozen often. Probably about once a week, but I wouldn't want that dozen the next day. My body naturally is like, nah.
That's interesting.
You don't need
because
it,
you always hear about people's libido going up after eating oysters.
Yeah, and that's
you
what
thought it was kind of like some sort of like fantasy tale or whatever.
It's crazy, man.
Well, zinc's what makes semen, and then that's why.
Yeah.
So it's just true. I would notice that. I've given it to the boys; they've noticed it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, liver and shellfish should be a supplement for all humans.
The females on this channel will probably be, Shwari, don't be telling them that.
Yeah, fully.
The guy's too horny as it is.
Yeah.
I need a break.
Yeah.
I had a mate who I gave it to, and he's like hell skeptic, and he's like, I'll try it, like, and he's like, called me the next day, and he's like, he didn't call me, I spoke to him at jiu-jitsu, and he's like,
was this King or the Enrich?
King. And he's like, man, I was fucking orchestrating orgies in my dreams, like I was going, you go down on her, you like,
dude. Aiden's brother stopped taking it. He goes, man, I'm just an animal. He goes, I have it, dude. My dick's hard at work and shit.
Really?
And he's like, I just can't do it. And that happened to me the first time, but you get hit to a point and that stops happening. But you get this first initial, how we talk about reflecting how your body feels.
Yeah, it's probably just the body's responding to the nutrients.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, man. And it covers all your B12, which you're not going to get as much of that from just the muscle meat.
Yeah.
So it just thinks,
maybe it's a good thing for vegetarians, right? Probably a really good thing.
But they wouldn't have it, right? Because it's not vegetarian. But like 100% it would be really good for vegetarian.
They should have it.
Yeah, they should. Yeah, definitely.
Maybe you got to like dope it with like, hey, we're putting in tofu.
Yeah.
Not tofu.
It's the same thing. So mine are that and some form of collagen or gelatin, but still, if you're getting collagen and gelatin, bone broth is going to be better than that.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're someone on the fly, you don't have the bone broth, then I have gelatin there because I noticed that in my skin. too. It's a big, because if I do any tendon loading or connective tissue stuff, I have collagen before it. And apparently it fourfolds the collagen synthesis compared to just doubling it from just doing the loading from Keith Barr's work, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So you have any tendon issues, which I know.
It's pretty cool that there's like all this information that's like so available now. You guys are just tapping into it.
ChatGPT, dude.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
It's
amazing. But this, even with these things like ChatGPT, it's like, like me, I'm searching stuff, like I'm looking for stuff for design and things like that, or like, how does this work or whatever. But you still need an expert to focus it and really put the prompts in a way that's like meaningful. I was having this conversation with some people at this design conference, like, it's going to displace a lot of work, but you still need somebody to like look into that, like whatever your jam is, whatever you're passionate about.
100%.
Yeah.
Because people think it's going to make him dumber. I was driving the other day with Louis. I was like, man, I think it's going to make us smarter. Because I get curious and something that I would never even get to, you can't even go on Google and find that. And I was like, what muscles create an anterior shear of the tibia at 20 degrees knee flexion? I'm never going to go through books and find that.
Right.
And it went through and starts talking to me, and I start bouncing ideas because I got it set up as the audio, like Siri. So I like, hey babe, what's up? Like, I start talking to it, and I'm like, man, this shit is, my heart gets lit up.
Yeah.
Because it is of
That's
God.
cool.
It is of
cool.
God.
I
You know?
just read or heard of a recent study at MIT that, and I guess it depends how you use it. So that's the critical thing. Like if you're having it do all your work, like, hey, write up this paper for this, do that, it's going to dumbify you. But if you use it to supplement your knowledge and to, just supplement your understanding of stuff, I think it could be really positive. And there's this discussion of it because it's going to be huge, so transformative. But is it going to be like displacing, or is it going to be like additive? Is it going to be like the internet that's going to be like kind of empowering everyone? I mean, I would hope so. I think that it can be, and I just think it's how, so maybe people need to be aware of how they use it. Like you need to use it in a way just like you're using it, like in a way to kind of supplement your knowledge base so that you can become more knowledgeable about the subject and then dive into deeper things,
Yeah,
So
exactly.
anyway,
it saves time. I was thinking about the lower fibers of serratus anterior, and I was like, surely they're more active around that like 90 to 140 degree range, but I wasn't certain. I don't even know where you go find that in a book. I just spoke to her. I'm calling it her now.
You've got a relationship with
fantasy girl.
Spoke to Jane about it now, and I go, what active of shoulder flexion is lower fibers of serratus anterior most active? And it said what I was thinking, and I was, yes, like I got to level up, and
That's
I was
super
like,
cool.
and I was, where else can you do that? You know?
But that's a question only you would ask because you have that base knowledge that not too many people have.
Yeah.
So it's cool. That's exactly the perfect scenario for it because, if you're, I wouldn't know to ask that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you supplement, it's supplemental to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's amazing because apparently it's like better. It's diagnosing better than doctors, right? Because it's got a much broader, database, and doctors are using it too. Yeah. So
I went to a doctor recently and he had it on there.
Yeah. Right.
And so he just recorded our whole thing and then he's like, yeah, you need this.
Yeah, and it's changed the game.
Wait, let me ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You can pay me now.
Yeah.
Well, Harry was saying like 80% of searches were Google, and now that's gone. It's 80% are now like ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm doing it.
Yeah,
me too.
It's all going towards that now, and then that's now changing the whole career path of like SEO, and it was always like Google stuff. Now it's like, where's ChatGPT getting this information from? Because that's how you want to market now. And you were saying it's getting it from like blogs and stuff. Yeah, 18 instead of like 80.
Oh,
whatever,
wow.
right?
That's crazy.
So it's changed it, man. Heaps.
Yeah, wow.
So, and it's pulling things from random people's blogs talking about it and stuff. So,
yeah, I know there's a big like tech war right now, and I know a lot of it. It's very technical, like what's happening. But, all the companies are like trying to get that upper edge on the, vertical stack of like what the, having the AI, having the chips, having like all the whole most vertical tech, and so all the different companies that are well positioned, like Google, and I heard recently Tesla, like even though Tesla, I think the stocks are down right now, like they're actually set up really well because there's probably going to be this movement of robotics, and they have so much of the entire spectrum of things that you need for the whole thing, so they're actually well positioned, I think, them in Google.
And you look at the future of like war. I think about, God, won't be like boots on the field. Like there'll just be robots that when my robots beat your
yeah,
robots,
drones,
we
yeah,
submit.
drone wars.
Yeah.
It's already there. To learn.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
it's
is.
crazy,
It
yeah.
is. But it's basically saying that when my robots beat your robots, you guys have to give us everything because that's what it
Yeah.
means. Because when my robots come into town, you're all dead.
Yeah.
So it's literally going to be
Yeah.
like proper.
So hectic, man.
Yeah.
proper so hectic.
I know.
Like and
Maybe
who-
they're small robots. Maybe they're like little bugs.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Won't be worrying about funnel webs. We'll be worrying about these.
yeah, little flies like out of June. But yeah, because they talk about whoever first figures out that like gnarly AI basically can run the world. Okay, how do I hack into Chinese mainstream?
Yeah,
and
the
do this?
super intelligence or the what is
Yeah.
it? AGI, like the general intelligence.
Like when it's just smarter,
Yeah,
like, where it
yeah.
can build more of
Super
itself.
intelligence, yeah.
And basically can come up with the perfect plan to take over any country, do whatever it needs to do. Like that's where they're like, that's the race. When you talk about the race, that's the deeper thing behind it all.
It's
Power.
just crazy that like the freaking nations are making it into such a freaking military situation, you know, like getting
Yeah.
man, why can't these guys just like work together? Like just get
Yeah.
countries, you know what? Let's make a pact, you know, enough fighting, you know, let's just get everyone together. We're going to build these things up and we're going to try to like, you know, better humanity,
Yeah.
you know, and this is an opportunity to do that. This super intelligence. I mean, shit. Otherwise, you know, these things are probably going to come around and squash them.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like now it's like it's become such a military
Yeah.
race that it's creating so much friction, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Scary.
I have high hopes that one day that like they'll be like, all right, well, everyone will be fed. You know, there'll be housing here, whatever it may be. People that want to go hard can get climbing, but there'll always be like a level of
Baseline.
baseline. What do they call it? Universal basic income or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
Yeah. And
Think
some
they'll-
people wonder if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I know, because with everything, you'll find a way for people to they will be exploiting it. You know.
Well, people will get lazy, but at least they'll be fed. You know what I mean? They won't be
Well,
sleep
yeah,
on
I
the
think
street.
what ends up happening is like you see the developed countries and that they're actually populations. Like I was worried when I was younger, like, oh, the Earth is going to be there's so many people, it's like
Yeah, I remember thinking
overpopulated.
that,
You know,
yeah.
like what are we going to do? But actually, what is happening is once these civilizations and these different cultures get to a certain level, the population starts going negative.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of the coin, you know? And so, you know, I think we could be in a better state, like, you know, as the population decreases and things become more manageable. And, you know, maybe it would be nice if it was more, like you say, like there's like a general, I don't know, just some sort of like peace for everyone, you know? Like,
Yeah.
gosh, this military action is just so over the top.
Yeah.
You know, fear mongering. It's such a incredible motivator. You know, this fear.
Yeah. Because it's like if you're having children, if you're not having 3, then you're not adding to the population.
Well, if you're not having 3, yeah.
Yeah. If you're not having 3, you're having 2, you're just maintaining it. You know?
That's what I did. I did 2 for that reason because I still feel like I didn't want to stress environment. But then, you know, the other people can argue, hey, if you have a really good kid, that kid will do good.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's another way to look at it too. If you have more than 2 kids.
Fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
China. One
Cool.
child
Well,
policy.
yeah. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Yeah. So
And-
we can ramble.
Oh, it's great,
no,
man.
we love it, dude.
That's how we always do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Epic. Yeah. No, thanks for having me here. Thanks for you guys' help.
Yeah, for sure.
Super excited about this next decade at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
dude.
next
Fuck
4 or
yeah.
5 decades.
Yeah, dude.
100%, man. 100%.
That's it.
Can't wait to see it. Just live your life as well as you can experience. And like, I think what you said at the start is so cool. And the way I see it is your vessel. Like, it's your vessel.
Yeah.
People sometimes, they either hear it, but they don't hear it. It's you stub your big toe, you will give up $1 million to fix that toe if someone said you had it for the rest of your life, you know? So
Yeah.
there's so much, it's only the only way you're going to experience this incarnation and experience what you can do is with a healthy vessel. So when you get trapped in the money and whatnot,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's never worth it.
Yeah. Really important to prioritize the things that matter.
Yeah. Fuck, beautiful.
Fuck yeah, we'll end it on that. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Mike.
mate.
Thanks,
Ta.
you guys. Yeah. Thanks for having me.